Hey everybody, welcome to 2218's Attitude for Gratitude. It's Tad here, and I'm hanging out with my best friend, Elena.
Hey everybody.
How's Elena doing today?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
You doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
Sometimes okay is okay. I don't got anything profound for that.
I don't have anything profound.
It sounded better in my head. Sometimes okay is okay.
Yeah.
I suppose I got to do Timmy's promo. So here at 2218, we like you, and if you ever want
That is not the promo.
if you ever want to donate money, Matt's gonna post the link. I blanked out on it, and you're more important than your money, but Matt's gonna post the link. 2218 is the world's oldest Alamo club, continuous running. They got all sorts of great stuff. If you want to volunteer, come check it out. They got Phoenix NA every day. They got lots of great groups, And like I always say, this isn't the only Alamo club in the world, but it's the one that we do this podcast live from. And we all got some sort of roots here. So if you'd like to help out, Matt's got the link. I know they're doing a cool New Year's thing. Twin City area is actually hosting their thing, so it's not related to 2218 other than it's going to be in this building. So that's Twin City Areas Narcotics Anonymous. And I don't know a lot about the details of that, except for it starts at 8:30 on New Year's Eve. And I don't know the prices. I've heard 5, I've heard 10. So that would be something to stay tuned. I would imagine it's posted on TwinCitiesArea.com. But as far as that, I think that's all the stuff I got.
I don't think we should put a price on sober fun.
No, neither do I. But unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. And I would imagine that no addict turned away.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's usually a thing.
How was your week?
It was pretty good. I mean, it was kind of still. I got all my stuff out of the sober house, so all my stuff is gone.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I have all my stuff. She has all her stuff, and it's in boxes in the house, in the garage, in multiple. It's putting the house together, and it's like where to get started in it. So, does anyone else remember when you first got clean?
Yeah.
And you had all this crap. You had your emotional stuff. You had your traumas. You had all your, you know what I mean? And you didn't want to deal with it because it all seemed so big. And you didn't know where to start. So, and that's where like the steps and a sponsor and good friends, your predecessors, people who have been there before come in handy. Because they could be like, look, man, how about you just work on waking up and going to therapy today and going to treatment? Tomorrow you can get a phone. The next day you can get stuff like that. So like that's kind of where I'm at the house. Like today we need to unpack the kitchen. Tomorrow we need to do this, and it's because it's overwhelming when you look at the whole house is in boxes, and you got a 4-bedroom house and a 2-bedroom, and then the garage is full. It's like I don't even want to do any of that ever. And in addition to doing all the other stuff I do, it's like, oh well, then there's work, then there's this, and but it's been good. The best part about having a house is, I can go home and just do me.
So I have a 4-bedroom house, and I have lived there for 6 years, and I still have stuff in boxes.
Oh, so I shouldn't freak out.
No.
Oh, okay. Lena said it's okay, Mandy.
Mandy, it's okay.
You want to hear a funny story? This isn't great either on my part. So Tad is used to doing what Tad wants to do. Meaning, like, I haven't lived with a girlfriend at the sober house. I'm the one who enforces the rules, and y'all know me.
That's gonna change.
Y'all know me, right? Right? I do what I want to do, and sometimes instead of being gentle, you and I just kind of had this a little bit ago. I just tell people how it is.
Yep.
Instead of that's a character defect to me, and it is something that I'm aware of. So the other night, Mandy has to work in the morning. I will preface this by giving myself an excuse, is what you'll call it, Elena, or some, how I deal with my stress at the end of the night is I play a video game and I listen to a podcast and I unpack everything. That's how I do it. By myself, I get an hour. So, if you're trying to get to that point and haven't been able to do that for a little while in your own house and you only have one TV set up, you probably shouldn't tell your girlfriend that it's her bedtime.
You did what?
I essentially told Mandy it was her bedtime, and asked her if she was tired, and it didn't go. We didn't get into a fight or anything, but yet, that's not great.
Oh, wifey, you know my number. You can always come over.
Well, and then it gets funnier. The next night, I wanted her to stay up because either I'm overcompensating or something, and she's tired, falling asleep. I'm like, stay up. I don't need to do. So you know how life is. How about you? How's your week been?
I don't even know how to answer that. I tell a lot of people, so I'm not really going to do my segment today because I'm going to kind of talk about it in my how was my week. I tell everybody every week to practice self-love and self-care and do all of these things, and this week I'm not feeling it. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm in my feels. I feel like every hour I have water falling from my eyes and I don't know where it's coming from. And I don't know why, and I want to like blame it on menopause, but I'm not at that age yet. And I want to blame it on life, and I'm going to start crying right now and I don't know why. And today Miss Gracie showed up and I just started bawling because I haven't seen her in forever, and I don't know what's going on, but apparently this is just a week for me to cry. Apparently it's a week for me to cry. And I haven't been feeling well. I've been really dizzy lately, and like all the time. I tripped down my stairs and twisted my ankle. I got a brace on my ankle right now. So I don't know. There's something going on with Elena right now, but I'm going to figure it out. I know that I've been through worse, so I know that I'm going to get better because addiction was a lot worse than this. So I just got to keep working on my self-care. I got to keep doing what I need to do. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to go to my amazing meeting that I go to every week for my home group.
That's 10:10, right?
That's the 10:10 up in Blaine. And I'm going to see my fellowship friends, and I'm going to have an amazing weekend. So, and tonight, right before I came here, I took my daughter out to dinner. She's going to be 19 next week. So we went out to dinner for her birthday.
Nice.
Because you know how being an adult goes. I can't have her on her birthday, so I had to have her when I can get her. So we went out to dinner and we had a great conversation, and she put it in her calendar. She's going to come up for my 3-year. When I
That's
get my
awesome.
3-year, she's never come up for one of my medallions, so she's going to come up and see me get my 3-year. So
That's coming up, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Good deal.
it's coming. It's coming. We're not going to front time, but it's coming.
It's coming.
So, yeah, it's been a good week. Besides all that, it's been a good week. I mean,
Well,
we all have emotions.
I say this, and I'm going to sound like an uncaring dick when I say this, but isn't that part of recovery? You're learning to deal with that stuff, because those are things that would have sent us over, or me. They sent me over the edge if I had a week like that.
It is, but like when I look at myself in how far I've come, I'm like, Elena, stop being a pussy. Why are you crying? Like, that's how I feel inside my head. But I know we need to let it out.
You're one of the strongest chicks I know.
I know. I know. But I'll be fine. I know I will.
And
Just like I tell everybody that I work with and everybody in meetings, we find a way.
just because we're stronger and all that stuff doesn't mean we have to be strong all the time.
I know.
We
That's
get to
the
be
great thing
vulnerable.
about this.
We get to cry. That's it's okay.
It shows that we are human and that we have found a way to release these things. I'm releasing whatever's bothering me that I don't know about. I'm releasing it somehow. I'll figure it out at the end of this.
And as this goes without saying, but I'm just saying this for the listeners. You're not doing it alone either. You have the support you need.
No, I talk to people all day.
And that's the coolest part. That's something we didn't have. Mm-hmm. You want to tell them about the interactive part of the show?
What interact? We don't interact. What are you talking
So this
about?
is an interactive show. If you If you ever want questions from the guests today, it's Ken. I'll give him an introduction in about 2 minutes here. All you have to do is chat him down there. If you want to stay anonymous, you can text me or Matt. We both have our numbers
I
down there.
just put mine too.
Elena put hers too, so you can text us and we won't say your name with the question. Also, so that being said,
And I'm probably not going to stick around tonight, everyone, but you can always message me with anything, any questions, anything that you need to know.
guess.
And yes, if you are looking to be a guest on the show, either now or in the future, I will tell you that we are booked through January. But if you're looking to be a guest on the show, shoot me a text message and we can have a conversation because we are looking for people to be guests on the show. So let me know and we can have a great conversation. This is something really fun to do. And you don't think about it as people listening. Think about it the way I tell people is there's 4 friends sitting around a room talking. Same thing we'd do if we were going out to Perkins after a meeting.
Heck yeah.
Or wherever the heck we're going to go. I mean, it's same thing as just sitting around talking about recovery or whatever we're doing. So let us know.
Well, Matt, were you going to do a segment since no one
Matt.
else was, or do you want to pass? So Matt's going to have the mic for about 2 or 3 minutes. He's going to do a short segment, and then we're going to get into the show. Tim is not here. He had to work, and like
But
Elena
he
said,
should be listening. Hi, Tammy.
hey, Tim, we love you and we miss you. So without further ado, we're going to do Matt's segment with Matt.
Makes sense. Still got a name for it yet, but it'll work. So I guess I'm just gonna kind of talk about I was just going to how my week was, make it easy. So I had a pretty stressful week. Like my mom got a hold of me Monday about some stuff with an ex and how it wants me to do some kind of DNA test. But it's also how it drags me back into the old community I don't want to be a part of no more. That's why I moved away. I had to make it. I spent this entire week. I've been spending this whole week actually contemplating or if I should go down there and do this. But yet it's just such a big issue. I wasn't when the thing first happened. Why don't you do it when it first happened and wait 2-3 years later down the line? So I had to make. So this is part of my recovery, making a choice whether to do it or not. I cut all ties with a certain community that I don't want to be a part of no more because that's where I got in trouble the most. So me going back there just for someone's legal process that they're involved in, I don't need to be involved in that. So I just chose to. I'm not going to deal with this issue. I moved on with my life. I moved to a new city, became a resident of this new city just recently. So so what I'm getting at is if you're struggling where you're at, you see a purpose in life. If you feel like you're getting stressed out throughout your recovery, just take a day or two to just to think and process things in your head. And if you don't know if you can't process it right, reach out to somebody like me, Tad, Elena, our guest tonight, Tim, whoever. It doesn't hurt to ask someone for advice. It's always good to get guidance or advice from somebody when you're struggling. I did that with multiple people. I talked to my counselor about it. I've talked to my all-patient group. I just open up. Don't be afraid to open up to somebody, because we're not here to judge nobody. We're here to help you succeed in your life.
Thank you, Matt. And that was Matt's segment with Matt. Maybe as we go further along, Matt will get a better segment.
I don't
name.
like the name of that.
I'm not feeling super creative. Now we are going to open the show up. We're going to chop it up. Our guest tonight is
Chop
Ken.
it.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name's Ken. I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means to me is I no longer have to be a waste of space in my own life.
What?
Whoa! Mic drop at the beginning of the show.
That was good.
So Ken, how have you been?
Me, I've been well. Living life, living the dream. Some days it's the dream, and some days it's a effing dream. This week it's definitely been the dream. I spent a lot of time creating a life that I enjoy. And I think that, you know, that's the differential between people that you will see that stay in long-term recovery and the people that either will go out or will live a life of misery inside of, you know, their sobriety. You know, sobriety and recovery are two different things to me. You know, I even believe that you can be in recovery and not be sober. You know, and I know that's something that's probably, you know, for all those truest AA, NA, CMA people out there, you know, something that they may not be ready to hear, you know. But, you know, the process of recovery for me, you know, is removing the things that are blocking me from you, right?
Ah,
And, you know, that's ego, the conscious or unconscious separation from.
everyone, or just
I don't know, maybe just the people I like or don't like.
I just wanted. Go
No.
ahead.
You know, basically the conscious or unconscious separation from you, because what the ego does is it separates me from you. You know, if I'm connected and realize that we're all one energy, right? You know, so whatever's blocking me from that, and, you know, sometimes it's meth, or sometimes it's weed, or sometimes it's, you know, pornography, or sometimes, you know, it's food, you know, sometimes it's poor relationships, you know, it can be any type of thing that is blocking me from you. So when I'm connected to you, that's the process of recovery for me.
I wanted to ask you a question a couple weeks ago, and it's along this line.
You know I'm here just for you today, right, Tad?
I do know that.
I
was
think it's
told-
fitting that Tim ain't here.
Right, right. Well, he called me and told me you were super pumped up, and yeah, figured Tim. So if do you think someone could be addicted to stress and stressing themselves out? Is that feasible?
Of course, because what does that do?
It gives them something to talk about, and it gives them. If you're always stressed out, people then are either complaining about you or talking to you and paying attention to you, or it gives you a purpose, essentially.
Or maybe what it is that is allowing you to stop growing personally. So, you know, this process that we talk about, that's a process of recovery, right? What it means for me is the fact that I can sit still. I can sit still and quiet. I can sit still with myself. I can sit still when I'm talking to somebody else, right? And so anything that I'm doing that is taking away from that for me is stopping me from continuing to process who I am and how it is that I show up with you, which really how I show up with you is how I show up with me, right? So it's like this reciprocal relationship that I have with myself and the outside world, right? So anything that I'm doing that is detracting from that or taking away from that really is me running from myself, which was what drugs and alcohol were for me,
Yep.
was to run from myself, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
I dig it. That made sense. So what topics did you want to talk about today?
Well, so, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read something. It struck me as I was, you know, thinking about things, you know, I don't even remember when I started thinking about things, but, you know, the last time that I was here, you know, I had an opportunity to kind of lay out, you know, my own story, you know, or pieces of my story. I'm not really too much into talking about what it was like. I mean, I think you've heard me speak before.
Yeah.
I think what it was like probably takes about 2 or 3 minutes, because I know that most people in the room, this room included, know what it was like.
Right.
Right?
We all
Like,
qualify.
Right. Terror, bewilderment, fear, you know, jails, prisons, you know, and some may be part of that list, some may not, right?
Right. Trauma, grief, loss.
Right. Trauma, grief, loss, you know, post-traumatic stress, mental health issues, you know, these are all the after effects of what I'm currently dealing with in my life when I start stepping into recovery, right? And not the things that I was dealing with when I was on the streets, because those things may have been underlying issues and they may have been there, but really they're not what I was dealing with, because what I was dealing with was the continual obsession to continue getting loaded. Right. And so I actually went down in my storage unit and dug out a notebook. This notebook is actually from when I was in prison, right? And there's this piece that I wrote, and it's really going to be a nice segue into what I want to talk about, which is like current for my week,
Okay.
and some of the powerful experiences that I've had this week alone, okay? And then what I would like to do is I would like to have you, lovely people in this room, ask me questions that you want to know about recovery. What do you want to know about my life, you know? And then we can kind of let the spirit guide us through this conversation, right? So the piece that I wrote is called The Wild Man. And it was written by me June 16th of 2002, right? So we're looking at, you know, going on 20 years ago. Okay?
I was 16.
What's that?
I was 16 back then.
Yeah? I was already in prison.
Damn.
Yeah. What year were you born?
84.
Oh, yeah. I was on my way to stealing Legos and eating glue by then. So the piece is called The Wild Man. It says, headlong upon a somber night does the wild man roam. He travels upon a whispering breeze, destination unknown. A rambler of sorts, and wrapped within himself a wild wind blows. His steps are light, yet his heart is divided and made heavy by the darkness within the night. His trials are long, and his tribulations are great, the tests of time consumed by fate. A learned man of desolate ways, his spirit bound by the iniquities of darkened days. With a forgotten glee, a troubled man attempts to put his crazed mind at ease. He is a man of forgotten birth, twisted around by the dissension between heaven and earth. Long and winded, his desolate heart grows, where his feet rest upon the trail so lone and dusty, only keeper of other worlds could know. He is wrapped and blanketed by pain, yet with the twist of fate, his hope still never fades away. He sleeps upon the clouds, his only place of rest, where his days of travel yet still hang heavy upon his chest. And there he bared the marks of a tattered existence which he cannot outrun. Yet again, now it would seem, his revelation is turned upon the pages of the greatest of stories of himself to be foreseen. Because out of his darkness came a light which the greatest of mortal men could never hold. It shines down so bright from heaven above, as once again his mind, body, and spirit come together as one. And as time passes, so it shall be. I can only pray that that dark and desolate man never again comes to be me.
Damn. You went full circle with it, too.
Yeah, and I mean, the crazy part is, it was written in 2002, so it was before I got out of prison, and, you know, I've returned to that dark and desolate man twice since then.
Right.
I've been sober most of the last 20 years. I've used for 30 months since 2002, right? My surrender date this time is 4/20 of 2012, right? So I don't talk about sober or clean. Those things, for me, they don't really hold the power, right? They're an after effect
Yeah.
of what the date is. So the date is my surrender date.
Yep.
It's the date that I surrendered to live in a way of life that no longer works for me. Okay? So, you know, when I look at that surrender and what that looks like, it's ebbed and flowed in the sense of what my life has been since that date, but I truly surrendered to what that way of life was for me. That life's dead. Right? And I think that that's one of the pieces in recovery that I see when I look around the rooms or where I work, you know, is missing this piece, right? The piece is doing whatever it takes to not return to this way of life that I surrendered.
Do little parts of your characteristics, behaviors of that life come back to you at times over the last?
All the time.
What do you do then?
Well, so, I mean, it's actually a perfect segue into what I want to talk about. So I have this word wrapped around my neck. It says dichotomic, right? Which means that everything in life is twofold: love and hate, good and evil, freedom and bondage. So there's this Native American, I think it's called a parable, where a grandson is talking to his grandfather, and he's talking to him about good and evil, right? And the grandfather says to his grandson, he said, well, there's two wolves inside of you. One of them's good and one of them's evil. And the grandson said, well, which one is stronger? And he said, whichever one you feed, right? So I have these two things that are inside of me, and they still battle to this day. The difference with where my life is at today from where my life was at then is that I have fully accepted my darkness, right? So until I could fully accept my darkness, I could never shine in my light. So I was always looking to displace this darkness or to push this darkness aside as if it doesn't exist. And you'll see a lot of people, they'll do that. They'll try to be happy all the time. You know, you guys were talking before the meeting about, being sad or pain or crying or emotions. So those are all the things that as a human are inside of me. And so at any point when I'm trying to push away whatever those things are, and that can include anger, sadness, happiness, this too shall pass means the good times and the shitty times.
Yeah.
Right? People always say that as in like the bad times.
The bad
but
times.
I will tell you, the good times will come to pass too. Right? And so I have all of these things that are inside of me, and sometimes I play in my darkness.
Yeah.
Right? And so whenever I look at people and I see them in life, let's just not even let's not just say segment, the program.
Right.
Just in life. Now, granted, there are some people who walk about life and are naturally happy most of the time. In my life, they're few and far between. Maybe it's who I surround myself with or my profession. But if I am constantly trying to push this thing aside, whatever that thing is, that can be the darkness, that can be the sadness, that can be the happiness even. There's people that don't want to be happy.
True.
You'll see them all the time. Like, you can get them involved in a conversation that is absolutely engaging and happy or ecstatic, and they will literally push it aside.
First time I was truly happy this time being sober, my face got numb. Like, because I wasn't used to it. It was like a real, not a manufactured happy, not a whatever, like a superficial happy. I felt genuine joy for the first time in years. I thought I was having a stroke or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I freaked
You
out.
look like you have a stroke.
But so like some people just don't know happy because of the life we've chose to live.
Yeah, or some people that I've seen will look at happiness, and then this story that's been built up in our heads sometimes, right, about our life or what we've done, feel like they don't deserve happiness, right? And so anytime this idea of happiness comes about, it gets pushed aside, right? Like, I don't deserve that.
Right.
And so I have all of these, you talked about, these little things, or, they can turn out to be big things.
Yeah.
Right? So it depends on the moment in the day, because they can transition from one moment to the next, whether or not I play with inside of whatever people want to call character defects, or, usually for me, when I'm playing in one of those things, usually the ultimate derivative is from fear.
Right.
And so, so I really want to kind of bring it back full circle to what we were talking about, which was, the end of the piece that I read says, "I can only pray that dark and desolate man never again comes to me." And so I went to a meeting on Wednesday to give one of my sponsees a 2-year medallion, and we got up, and I got to read a letter from his parents. His best friend decided that she would probably cry, so she had me read it. And I read it, and I gave him his medallion, and I sat back down. Now, I've transitioned jobs since there was this individual that was at the meeting, and he actually was at this other place that I work at. And I was looking across the couch, and I was like, man, does he have new tattoos? He had really big tattoos on his neck, on both sides, right? I'm like, okay. And I, for whatever reason, didn't get my medallion at my home meeting this year, and there was personal reasons behind it, and I'm not going to get into all that, but all of a sudden it struck me, it was time, and you know, it's just like when we were talking before. I said, you know, I'm going to let the Spirit guide me, right? And here, I really work at doing that in all facets of my life, right? That's that connectedness piece. And usually when I'm trying to stick a round peg into a square hole is usually when I'm not connected. It's when I'm separated. And I'm not letting the universe or the spirit or whatever it is, that the energy that I'm working at engaging in, to guide where it is that I'm at.
Is that the same as like your own will? Are you trying to be in the driver's seat?
I don't know. That's a little bit more of a debate that we can get into a little bit later, maybe after because I like I said, I'm gonna open it up for you.
We got viewer questions too already.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm down to hear those too. If I can ever get through my story, Tim Jr.
When we open it to questions, you can read them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I decide to get my medallion, and I pull it out of my wallet. And how I get my medallions, period, is I won't usually, obviously there's different circumstances, but as a whole, I won't tell whoever it is that's going to present it to me until we're getting up, right? And I actually, I saw the person I wanted to give it to me, and we went to get up, and they were going to give it to me, and then like 2 other people just popped up in front of me, and I'm like, do you not know who I am? That's a joke. Yeah, they did. That's why they went up. And really, I have a thing anyways. I always like to go last.
Yep.
You know, for multiple reasons. We get up there, and the person presents me with my medallion. The first time that I had ever met that person was in this room. You know, I know it's crazy. So you don't get the memories that come up. I think it was within this last week. It was 8 years ago that we started the CMA meeting on Tuesday nights.
Oh,
I didn't
damn.
realize it had been that long. But I met her at that meeting,
Okay.
and I watched her present, and it was the first time that she had ever really gotten up and spoke. And I remember sitting there, and I remember thinking, damn, that's a powerful person, right? And I'll share this. I mean, nobody knows what I'm talking about anyways, but she will. And she left, and I didn't see her for a long time. And she went out and do whatever she had to do, and she came back. And I don't, you know, it's funny how, just like the conversation we had outside at one time where you're like, you asked me to sponsor you, and I said whatever, and I didn't remember it, you know. That's because I'm so selfish. The only reason I ask you your name is to tell you mine. But I don't
Oh, okay.
specifically remember what she talked about. I don't remember what she talked about when we got back. But I had this feeling inside, right? Like I knew that this was going to be a powerful person, or she was a powerful person, somebody that wasn't ready to accept her own power, And so she's presenting me my medallion, and as soon as she started talking about me, I started crying. And I pretty much cried the whole time that I was up there. She said something to the effect of, I don't think that I would be sober, or I don't think that I would continue in recovery or have continued in recovery if it wouldn't be for basically who I am and what I've had to say and the time that I've spent, which isn't a lot, talking to her, usually before or after a meeting or whatnot. And what a humbling experience, right? And I've had these experiences happen specifically in this room on the other side, because I ran that meeting for a really long time until I was like, this meeting can't operate without me, and I was like, yeah, you better hand it off to somebody else, because in the end, I need AA, don't need me.
Right.
In some senses. In some senses it does. So I remember sitting there one day and this one of these women at the meeting saying something to the effect of like, your words have rang in my head and helped me stay sober for years.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And I had another lady, and I don't remember what she said, but she said something along those same lines, And so I got done getting my medallion, and I sat down, and I wasn't going to speak, and I usually speak at every meeting. I just was really emotional, and I just wanted to listen and to soak things in. And the gentleman running the meeting said something. And as soon as he got done sharing, I shared.
The spirit spoke to you? Or whatever?
He spoke to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he spoke to me. And he said something to the effect of, I hope that one day I can be as wise as you, right? And what I told him was this, because I spoke specifically to him at first. You're already there. There's no such thing as, I want to get there. I want to be there tomorrow, right? You are there right now. The issue is when you look in the mirror, you see everything you're not, and we see everything that you are. And it took me 20 years of living in recovery, whether I was loaded or not loaded, right, to really accept that power. The power is now. And the same thing went with the lady who gave me my medallion, right? She couldn't accept her power and where she was at in her recovery or where she was at in her life at that moment, right? And I shared that, and I shared with the whole room. You have that power right now. There's nobody in here that doesn't have that power. And I said this on the last podcast, but I will say it again, and I will say it pretty much every time that I speak anywhere that I go. When I was born, I was perfect. I'm not somebody that believes in original sin, right? When I was born, I was perfect.
I believe children are perfect too when they're born.
And then as I grew up and started crawling around and walking around, right? The world started doing things to me. And I started strapping on armor. You aren't going to do that to me anymore. You aren't going to hurt me like that anymore, right? And so I always thought the process of spiritual growth was a process of addition. I thought that I was missing something. And I used to listen to this guy when I was in church, or when I went to church in jail. His name was Brian Schumacher, and he played his little guitar, and he was just a good man. And I can remember thinking, if I just have what he has, I could stay sober. If I just has what he has, I can stay sober. And while I'm consistently looking for something outside of myself to make myself feel better, I'm continuing to get loaded, right?
Yeah.
And so this process of spiritual growth is a process of removal. Because I'm like this conduit. You talk about the spirit. You talked about connectedness, right? We talked about that. So I'm this conduit. And this conduit, by the time I get into this program, is filled with sludge. I'd like to say the other S word. I know you can swear on here, but I'm not. It's filled with sludge. And so the process of the steps, or the process of recovery, is blowing the pipe out so that I can have this spirit flow through me. So the process is removing the things, we're back to this again, which are blocking me from you. Okay? And so one thing that I wish that I could give people, which I can't, it's for their own life to determine their own growth, whatever it is that they got going on in their life, is the acceptance of the fact that you are powerful right now. You're not missing anything right now. And I do kind of look back, though, at what it took for me to get there and sit in this chair and speak these words. It took a lot. So this story gets better. So after the meeting, I look across from me and I'm like, "Hey, bro." I was like, "Man, did you get new tattoos on your neck?" Because I haven't seen him since he left, and left where I work. And he's like, "Yeah, I did, man." And I said, "Well, what are they?" And he's like, "It's an angel and a demon."
Oh.
And I'm like, he's like, "'Cause they're always at war." This dude, remember what I said what I have wrapped around my neck?
Yep.
Dichotomic, love and hate, good and evil. Because of our conversations, this guy went and got big tattoos on both sides of his neck. Okay? So it gets even better.
It's better than that?
I don't know about better.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, it is, but that's extremely humbling, right? I go to leave the meeting, and this woman walks by me and says, "I just want you to know you're my hero." Right? I can only pray that dark and desolate man again comes to be me. Because I have accepted my darkness, I no longer return to that specific type of darkness. Now I get to carry my light. And my light is things like that.
Right.
And the power that's held inside of those things, sometimes we don't realize what we say and what we do and who we are have a ripple effect of everybody that's around us.
People are watching.
Yeah, and listening. And I say this all the time too, is the world don't need another me. I don't think it can handle another me. The world needs a you, and a you, and a you, and every single piece of you, and every single person in this program, and every single person in this world, right? And my prayer is that when you're having a spiritual experience, that your life and your words express who you are. Because we need you. The world doesn't need another me. Because the universe, or God, or whatever you want to call it, right, it gave me a gift. I have the gift of bullshit. And I say that in the sense of I have the gift to be able to chop it up with anyone. Whether it's from the boardroom to the gutter, right? But I was also given this gift to be able to relate my experiences in my life and internally and put them in such a way that people can hear me. Not with their ears, with their heart.
Yeah.
It's called the language of the heart. And I say this all the time. Have a good night.
Good night, Elena.
Yep, I hope you feel better. And yes, we know you're not sick.
I'm gonna go ice my ankle.
Oh.
Ice your ankle.
Yep, your ankle will thank you.
Call me tomorrow when you get up. Or, well, not when you get up, when you're done with your meeting.
And so I've been given this gift to be able to disseminate the things that are going on inside of me, to be able to relate them in a way that people can hear what I'm saying with their heart. Now, that language of the heart, we're gonna go back a little bit where we were talking about each person having their own power and each person needing to, the world needing a you, because there's some people's heart, they're not gonna hear my message. There's literally people that I see that go, God, I wish this guy would shut up for whatever reason. Like, I don't speak to them. But you might speak to them. You might say the exact same words that I say, and they might hear you.
I've seen that before where, like, everybody's saying the same thing, and, like, I've seen what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you have your eyes open and you're paying attention, and I don't just mean you, I just mean in general, people will get that experience to be able to see that. And so this idea or this connectedness, as we walk through our lives, the opportunity that we have for other people to truly hear us. You know, and did you know what one of the most common fears in the world is?
What? Being alone?
No, that I won't be heard or understood.
That makes a lot of sense.
Think about that in your life. How does that relate to you?
I kind of feel like I kind of felt that way until I found a fellowship of people that were similar my whole life.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Even my first 18 months of recovery, I kind of felt that way until I found my people.
Right. Right.
I said as much, basically.
And when you found your people and you felt heard and understood, that was crazy. When you felt heard and understood, what did that do for you?
It made me feel like, A, I belonged, B, I had a family, I had the sense of that I'd been looking for, and it made me feel like everything that I had done and gone through was worth it because I now have my people.
Right.
And once I had my people, then I was able to have more people because my people loved me for me. I didn't have to fake. I didn't have to do any of that other stuff. And my people, you know, I could say some bullshit, and my people were like, Dad, we love you for you. We don't care. And I was then able to, people who weren't my people became my people because I was being me. And I had my people no matter what. If you didn't like me, it was okay because I already had my people.
Right.
If you do like me, cool. If I can help you regardless. And it gave me a self-confidence that I never had.
And would you call that a spiritual experience?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I thought because I was clean for a certain amount I didn't know that I had to have my people and my family, like my true family. And I don't know, it was different. And then all the other shit that bugged me, insecurities, different things, what people thought about me, me having to be the hardest worker in the room to get noticed for all, you probably know, can imagine, it didn't matter anymore because people loved me for being Tat. They didn't care about my bullshit.
And so what has having that spiritual experience done for you in the different facets of your life?
My life has changed exponentially. Like I've grown as a person. I've been able to share that sometimes. And I think the biggest part is, for me, on a personal level, without talking about other people or things that I've done, self-confidence. Because I now know who Tad is and I can be confident in that. Tad's not always great, but that's
Oh,
okay.
we know.
Thanks, Ken. Tad's not always great. Tad's not always Tad's not always nice.
So
Tad-
you get to play in your darkness sometimes.
yeah, I get to be me, no matter, for the best, the better or worse. And my friends love me for that, no matter what.
Yeah.
They understand it.
Right. So there's a perfect example. So the whole idea that we're speaking about, right, is finding our own power, finding our own voice, finding who it is that we are, right? And so I laid the framework so that I could ask you the same questions for the words that I spoke out of my mouth. So obviously, this language of the heart piece is something that you felt in that moment. It spoke to you,
Yeah.
right? And so the other question that I'm going to pose to you then is this. Have you ever sat in a room and not spoke?
Yeah.
In a meeting, not spoke,
Yes.
right?
In the beginning, no. In the past, but I prefer not to speak now.
So you're kind of a selfish prick.
Yeah, and I prefer not to speak now because something flipped and it got weird, and it's not. I don't
You're
know.
denying somebody else the same connected feeling that you were giving by
Right.
by somebody sharing with you and being able to relate the language of the heart.
And that's, for a while I spoke too much, and then it got there, and now like I just came to a place to where I speak when I feel it called upon now.
So there's this idea of balance.
Yeah.
And how hard has it been for you to achieve this idea of balance?
Oh man, still struggle with it every day. Probably gonna for the rest of my life. It's easy some
Every
days.
day?
Every day.
I'm calling bullshit.
I mean, there are days where I wake up and everything is decent. But I mean, balance is.
So
I hate that word so much when I was in treatment.
Okay, but check this out, right? So this is you heard my story, you heard this, you heard that, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna contest some ideas. So you said that every day I struggle with balance.
I have a balance issue. I probably don't. Struggle is probably an exaggeration. Another one of my things. But yeah.
But this is a story that you've told yourself in your head, so you begin to iterate to the world that's around you.
Right. True.
Right? So these are these things of power, right? The power is in our words and in our story and in our actions. But the problem is we tell ourselves stories sometimes, and we get these stories so built up in it. I'll give you a couple great ones I hear in the program all the time. I wouldn't trade my best time high for my worst time sober. I'm like, well, I don't know what kind of drugs you were doing, right? But I had some really good times high, and I've had some really shitty times sober, and I would trade in them in a moment.
Right.
But would I trade the life that I have today for the life that I had then?
Absolutely not.
Right, because it's these ideas that I have in my head, and I begin to parrot what other people's experience is. And I even begin to parrot my own experience.
Oh yeah.
So you've been parroting this experience that you have, that you think you have in your mind, where you struggle with balance every day.
I believe that about myself. That's true.
Yeah, right? And usually, what is the cause of our greatest pain?
Me.
No, the things
Things
that
I
we
tell
believe
myself,
about
yes.
ourselves. It isn't you as a person that's the issue. It's what you believe about yourself that's the issue. Right? And so it's just like this idea, when I look in the mirror, I see all the things that I'm not. Instead of all the things that I am, is what the world sees.
Right.
And I'll give you a really good example of that. When I was younger, I didn't realize that anyone else had feelings. I didn't realize that you felt these things that I felt inside. Anxiety, worry, right? I didn't realize that you had those, because what I was judging my insides on was your outsides, your defense mechanisms that you show the world.
Oh.
Right? So this is a story that I'm telling myself, right? So this hooks back into this idea of that spirituality is a process of addition, and it's not. I'm not missing anything. The process of spiritual growth is a process of removal.
Right.
And a piece of that is removing the stories that I continue to tell myself on a day-to-day basis. Like the guy that we were talking about, that I was talking about in the meeting, that said, one day I hope to be as wise as you. No, you are right now. Because tomorrow doesn't exist. You have that power right now. But this story that you continue to tell yourself inside says that when I get somewhere else, I'll be better. Right?
Yeah. I still tell myself that sometimes.
Well, obviously, you just told it to me. You know, and that's not to say, and actually you kind of cleaned it up a little bit. You know, and what you said is, you know, basically I was being dramatic, right? I have these days where I feel like my life is in balance. Because those things are true. It's like I said, what did I say when you asked me something to the effect of, are these residual things that I have from when I was using something that is current in my life? And what did I say?
Sometimes.
No, I
A
didn't.
sense.
What did I say?
I don't remember word for
Depends on the moment.
on the moment. Yeah.
Not on the day, not on the hour, on the moment. Right? And so, Matt, right?
Matt.
Yeah. See, playing on. Oh, what you doing? Crosswords. Do you not know who I am?
I know you are.
I know.
He knows who you are.
Anyways, you had said something to the effect of like, to sit back and process, right? And what a gift it has been for me to be able to stop in the middle of something when I feel discord inside and to process, right? That's because, and this is going to sound goofy as hell, but you know, I know you guys are some sick bastards. Your pipe has cleared a little bit, right?
The sludge is
Right.
gone. Some of the sludge is
Yeah,
gone.
some of the sludge is cleared a little bit. And you don't have a microphone over there, do you? See, it's like I'm the interviewer right now,
It kind of.
right? And so, I'll speak for it. No, just kidding. Yeah, get over here. The peanut gallery might get some questions over there too.
Well, that's my sister Tara, and that's Jerome, and they're both.
I don't know who Tara is.
Okay.
And I don't know Jerome, but I mean.
You know him now. He knows who you are, Ken.
Best friend. He's my best friend. So this idea that you're able to process now, right? So would you give it the significance to say that you began to realize your own power?
Definitely.
Do you signify that in the moment as that this is my own power?
Not in the moment. It's like after I've processed, like it's my own power after I've processed it. Because I think in the moment you don't realize it's your own power until after you've processed.
Yeah, right. And one of those things that gave you your power is where you looked at the situation that you processed, right? And you didn't run off to the tune of someone else's drum saying, I'm going to go do that because they said I should do that.
Right. Exactly. Like I needed to think about it. Like, is there a benefit for me doing this? And after spending this whole week thinking about it, like, there's no benefit to it for me at all.
Is there a benefit to the other person?
Potentially, there would be a benefit, but it's not my issue to deal with, and they need to deal with it on their own and not involve me anymore.
Wow. That's probably a long place from where you came when you walked in here.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah? So what changed for you?
I got more serious this time because before I got clean this time, I had about 8.5 years, but I did that by myself with no sponsor. And towards the end of my 8.5 years, I sabotaged it because I decided to move back to my grandmother's house at the time with my father and uncle who were in active use, thinking I could handle it. And I actually knew within like the first 15 minutes I wasn't gonna be able to handle
What
it.
was the real reason you moved back there?
I actually lost my job and lost my apartment.
I figured.
Yeah.
I didn't know the exact situation.
Yeah.
So you took the way where you didn't have to pay nothing in life and
Yeah.
move back home.
Yep.
Because we're real good at that.
Yeah.
We're real good at that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you set yourself up to lose that job?
No, it was never a plan. Like
I didn't say a plan. I asked if you set yourself up to lose that job.
No. something that happened, like I had like, an injury from work, like, so it kind of came about by itself.
Okay. So I stand corrected every once in a while.
Yep.
It happens. You know, one of the things that that I like, and you know, I've seen you sit up front. If you know, I don't know you really well from that. And the 2 times that I've sat at this table with you, right? If I were to sit there and not know anything about you, and for you just to speak about how you're processing life and how you're dealing with things, do you mind me asking how long you've been sober?
I actually have a year at the end of this month.
I would have guessed that you're many years beyond that. Yeah. Right? And so, how does it feel, right? Because I know you have a respect for me.
Definitely.
Right? So, how does that feel when I tell you something like that?
It actually feels really, really good. Like hearing that from somebody who's got, you have 5 years, roughly.
Almost 10.
Almost 10. Okay. You know, like hearing that from someone who's had like almost 10 years, like it helps motivate me.
But is it the time? Because you didn't even know how long I've been sober, right?
Right.
So is it the time that creates that, or is it who I am as a person?
Who you are as a person.
See, so why in this program do we get so hooked up on how much time somebody's been sober?
See, I don't really know. Like, it shouldn't matter how long someone's been sober, because I had gotten my 9-month CMA chip at one point. You know, if people know Joel. He presented to me. He said he looked up to me, like, and he was barely into like his 6 months, I think, at the time or whatever. You know, and that surprised me that I was someone he looked up to, with like where I'm at, with how active I am in my recovery. I volunteer here on Thursdays. I work the front desk Thursdays. I chair a meeting here on Fridays. So I'm always here. So now there's kind of this running rumor about me living up here at 2218 when I kind of don't, but I'm like.
You kind of look like you live up here.
Yeah.
So I want to give you a couple things to chew on. So number one, I know you don't know who my sponsor is, right? My sponsor has been sober half the time I have. Now, now you know me, from meetings and, doing these little round table things, right? If you were to take, like she said, that construct of time, right? Mm-hmm. And knowing who I am, right? Would you ever believe in a million years that the person I asked to help guide me through life has been sober half the time that I have?
I'd say no, but like now that I can like process it, like it would make sense sometimes. Sometimes you need someone who has less time than you to help you guide you, because they may know more than you think they do.
So I want to get this thing about time out of our heads, right?
People can be wise despite how old they are or how much time they have in recovery.
What were we talking about in the beginning? What did I say that I believe about recovery?
You believe? Are you talking about the thing where you said you don't have to be sober, but you could be? Yeah, I was hoping we'd get back to that.
Right. So to be in recovery, you don't even have to be sober, right? Who you are as a person and what you have decided that is your conscious separation from what is holding you back from being able to connect to somebody else, right?
Right.
Does that come with time then?
No, that comes with like your own aging of yourself, as maturing as a person in yourself.
What is the word called?
Maturity or
No,
wisdom.
what is the word called?
I'd say
What did the guy ask that he had hoped that I had, or that he had someday?
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Very good, right? So to be wise, do you have to be a certain amount of years sober?
Definitely not.
Do you even have to be sober?
Somebody can come here with like a week of sobriety and have to be extremely wise in like their recovery, because they
fucked up so much.
Yeah, either you fucked up so much, or you
Give this girl a microphone.
Tara, get on it. Come on,
over here.
Tara.
So, man, get over here, Tara.
This is the first time she's
Come
never
on,
came.
we don't need you on this microphone here.
So,
What's up?
You
Hey,
can have a week
Tara.
of sobriety and be extremely wise because you may have had past experiences in sobriety, or you just it's how you are as a person. You just took so
Very
much
good.
time studying yourself, looking
Well,
at yourself like.
Wisdom comes from experience. So
Exactly,
it's really about how
exactly.
much life experience you have. You could have one day clean or 2 hours clean. But if you're, you've
hours
lived your fucking life, you've done all the shits, you're going to know what not to do now.
Yeah.
So you're going to have more experience than people who've been clean 20 years who didn't fucking live their
Yeah,
life.
like, it's like say I'm 32. Like I could have a sponsor who's like half my age, and still like gain knowledge from that person.
Well, especially if they have different life experiences. Because,
Exactly.
see, you know your experiences as long as you've looked in the mirror and you've checked your own stuff. But, like, let's say, like, you and me lived a different life. So, like, I have experiences that you might need to learn from, and you have experiences that I might need to learn from. But if we put that together, that becomes, you know, this collective wisdom.
Yeah, it makes the program more of a unit.
Yes.
It is so crazy because now we're gonna end up right into where my next segment wanted to go, with exactly what you said. So we have all these ideas, or we have all these things that I'm good at or that I'm powerful with, right? So I work in a place where I'm part of a clinical team. Okay, I don't have a clinical license. Okay, and so. And I'll share this part real quick. I had a guy not too long ago try to nut up on me, right? Younger guy, whatnot, and
He tried to fight you, essentially.
He flexed on him, is what he's saying.
he tried to flex on me, correct? And I don't know if he thought because like I wear dry fit polo shirts and I don't swear and I don't no longer speak like I'm from the hood while I'm at work, that what? I'm soft.
Push over.
And he caught me slipping though. He did catch me slipping. So I'm always super careful about where I sit. Good example, right? What did I ask earlier? If I could sit here. Right? Because I have a thing about where I sit. I have a thing about how I speak to people. I have a thing about proximity of space, right? And I was going up the stairs, and the first guy was in front of him, and then it was him, and then it was me, and he turned around
Oh,
and he
no.
nutted up on me, and I was on the stairs,
Oh.
right? And he was like, and I didn't back up. I took a step forward, right? And I looked him in the eyes, and I very calmly said, no, this is not what we're doing. He said something else, and I said, no, I don't think you understand. That's not what's happening right now, right? So there's a reason why I'm prefacing this story that I'm about to say. So I can walk in those types of circumstances, right? I have no fear. Now, that's not to say I don't have a little jittery inside, right? Just because it's the unknown. But as a whole, I don't have that, right? For whatever life experiences that I've lived. Get me in a clinical team meeting, right? And all of a sudden, I have this disproportionate feeling about equality, right? And so I've had these things that have happened, and I happen to have the most amazing director that I've ever worked with in my life as a different people that I've had in my career have taught me different pieces of things, right? But when it comes to the overall package of who this person is, she is off the hook, right? And if you watched her walk by you, she's a little bit taller than you, right? Blonde hair, right? If you watched her walk by you, you would think nothing of her. I have watched her step on full-grown men, gangsters, still living in their shit. I have watched her step on their necks, right? And beyond that, she's an amazing administrator. She's all of these things, and I had some situations happen, and I've been in her office twice. Just being coached, right? So I actually work with all women, all in positions of authority, and all extremely powerful. And you know, there's a lot of men, especially like if you met me, right, you'd think that, oh, you know, have an issue with that. Not me. I'm like, rock on, ladies. I watch them like they are powerhouses, and I love watching them work, right? My whole goal in recovery is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Right. And recovery, again, doesn't mean just sobriety. Recovery means in every area of my life, right? I want to grow in understanding and effectiveness, right? And if I'm the smartest person in the room,
You better
I'm
pick
awful
a different room.
What's that?
Right.
You better move rooms.
Right.
Find your room.
exactly.
I always say if I'm the
Exactly.
smartest person in the room, I'm
You're in
fucked.
trouble.
So we had this thing, and I told her that the clinical director, right? I have this feeling, and really what it is a projection, right? There's something that gets stirred inside of me, and I have this projection, and I would say 99% of everywhere that I go in life, I feel equal. I don't have an issue whether I'm in the boardroom or whether I'm under a bridge in the gutter, right? I feel equal, right? Not better, not worse, because both of those coins are ego,
Right.
Whether I feel, because it's a separation from you, a conscious separation from, whether it's less than or whether it's more than, right? But for some reason, this woman, I feel less than, right? I don't even feel necessarily less than the damn director. But for some reason, this particular person, I do.
Is she higher in power than you?
Oh, they're all higher in power
So
than
she
me.
is.
Every single one of them.
It could
But the director is above her.
And you don't feel that way about the
No,
director.
not at all.
Do you think it's a respect? Do you respect her more?
So I respect every single one of these women equally.
Okay.
It's something deeper than that, right? So we're gonna start peeling back the onion here.
Yeah.
And there's a big reason why I'm sharing all this, because we're gonna go back to this personal power piece, right?
Okay.
So sometimes it's real easy for us to like say, okay, I want you to accept your power, and that power is right now. And then
Right.
we walk into our own lives, and yet we have hard times accepting our own
Hell yeah.
power. You missed the first part of our conversation.
I know
about-
it sounded good.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.
I caught the end of it. It sounded good.
Yeah, this was with a female that gave me my medallion
Okay.
on Wednesday. But the first time I met her, it was in this room. We started the CMA meeting here like
Okay.
8 years ago, and I first met her there, and she presented for the first time ever. And I said, "Man, that woman is powerful." And she went back out. She came back in, and she gave me my medallion, and I cried basically the whole time, because she basically said, because of who you are and your words and this and that, like, it has allowed me to continue in my recovery and to stay sober. And I was talking about a gentleman that was previously at my job. The word wrapped around my neck is dichotomic, which means love and hate, good and evil, freedom and bondage.
Yep.
And you almost got a master's degree or a master's degree, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you probably know what dichotomy is.
I do.
Yeah, I know.
Ariana Grande uses it in one of her songs.
Does he really?
She do.
Yeah.
Ah!
And this guy, I was like, "Did you get new tattoos?" Because I haven't seen him since he left, right?
Okay.
He's got whole neck tattoos. And I said, "Well, what are they?" And he said, "It's an angel and it's a demon.
Oh.
Love and hate, good and evil, freedom
That's
and
cool.
bondage, dichotomy." He went and got these tattoos because of our conversations.
No fucking holy wow.
Yeah. Right. So what it's the preface to where I'm going with this.
Actually, that's
right?
my next tattoo is gonna be Rey from Star Wars, her dark side and her light side. I
Okay.
get that next Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
So this is the preface to the, and then as I walked out the meeting, this other young lady said, "You're my hero," right? And so I know that I'm a powerful individual, right?
Yes.
And like I said, a majority of the time I feel like this, but for some reason, sitting in those clinical meetings at time, I don't feel that way when I look across the
That's
table
interesting.
and I look this person in their eyes, right? And it's so we got to peel back the layers of the onion, because you get me in the room with the director and I don't feel that way, and she's above all of us, right? And so she's been coaching me, right? She's been coaching me.
The one who makes you feel less than
No,
has
the
been
director.
the director's been coaching you.
She's been coaching me about, so we have a situation that arises, right? And so she's like, so I don't, like, I'm tatted up, but I never wanted any on my hands, right? But the one that I feel intimidated by, right? I'm literally probably going to get a tattoo on my hand. She said it's 1, 2, 3, or I'm going to get it on my palm because I really don't want it on my hand. But then also I want to get a rabbit and a turtle. for the throttle.
Ah, that's dope.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
those. I've seen those
Yeah.
tattoos, and I thought that was
Right.
cool.
So I'm like, well, that justifies the other one, right?
Yep.
Sweet.
So 1, 2, 3. You know what 1, 2, 3 is? 1. Does it need to be said at all? 2. Does it need to be said right now? 3. Does it need to be said by me?
Ooh,
Right?
those are good.
Yeah. So as I'm walking through my day, I'm checking these things through my head.
So you wanted to get a
this
reminder.
person, yeah, right. So this person, the one that I talked about, the intimidation piece. I respect her.
She has them.
No, she said it. Now I want to get a tattoo of it, right?
Oh,
Right?
change.
Oh,
Well,
shit.
look at
So
this.
this is somebody that I respect. Right?
Okay.
So we're gonna look at evolution, right?
Yep.
We looked at your evolution. We looked at your evolution, right? Like in your recovery, and we talked about these different things. So I've been coached for these 2 days. So we have this situation that happens now. It involves a person who is not somebody that's an employee. We'll say it like that.
Okay.
Okay. And all my conversations have been around this person, not because of who the person is necessarily, but because decisions that are being made, right? And I feel like something might be some way, or and I'm being very vague for a reason.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm getting coached through this whole thing, right? And so it's going to be brought up in this meeting, and I'm being coached on how I can present the information, right? But I have this feeling of less than, right? So guess what I say to her? I say, does it need to be said by me? And she says, the director says, well, who do you think it should be said by? And I said, you? Because she explained it so flawlessly. Like
Yeah.
the articulation of the idea that we're going to
Sometimes
present. So
it's
who does it
hard.
need to be said by? I said, you.
Yeah.
She didn't say yes or no,
Okay.
right? Basically, it's like sit with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we go into this meeting, and we talk about this connection, this power, this thing that flows through us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm connected with who I am as a person. And the door was, so she actually did come into the meeting though,
Okay.
right? And she just sat down. She just, the door was opened, not by her, but by the context of, dude. Hey, oh,
She's got
Hey, I have,
yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
got-
I did 5,700 miles,
and I got R2D2 tatted right
11.
here.
We're all showing each
I
other our Baby Yoda
Oh, we all
shit.
got Baby Yoda
yeah,
crap.
So I did 5,700 miles and 11 states on my motorcycle, and my Baby Yoda sat in my handlebars the whole time.
Oh,
His
that's
name-
a trip.
His name is Little Big.
I
Homie.
rode from here to South Carolina last year. Did Myrtle Beach.
Yeah,
That was
Taylor
around
Dragon.
50,
You don't remember
5,500.
talking to me, do you?
I do remember talking to
Yeah.
you. It was a while because that
Yeah,
was
you had your
right
little
after
backpack
COVID.
And you did laundry all
Bro,
along
that
the way.
was a mess.
Yeah, I didn't make it there. This
That
year.
was a
Thanks
mess.
to Timmy Warren, I didn't make it.
Oh yeah, you guys were going out together.
He was supposed to meet me halfway through my trip.
He didn't fucking meet you?
Family.
Yeah, his family. It was a really bad
Oh.
situation. He had
That
to turn
trip that
around
he
and
was
meet
going
me.
on and had to turn around, he was
Yeah,
meeting
he hit a
Ken.
deer. And I was holed up in Harrison, Ohio.
Oh my
on my way
God.
to West Virginia, Virginia. Anyways,
Sad.
let's get.
Okay,
Yeah,
so back,
back-
so the door got opened by
Yeah, the door got opened from the spirit,
Okay.
and I laid it out. I watched the person who I figure is judging me that I'm not equal to. I watched her
Ooh.
really take in exactly what I was saying and nod her head and agree. And it was totally contrary or opposition to,
But the language you just used to even
yeah, but it was a total opposite of what I know she felt about the situation. And I watched her like agree with what I was saying and say, and this comes later, I never even looked at it like that. Right? And so all of a sudden it was like, right, now my power was given a voice. And it wasn't a voice that was coming from me needing to be accepted or be validated as I was good enough, right? It came from the actual power of the idea that I was speaking because it's what I believed, right? And so I walked out of there and I texted the director and I was just like, thank you, right? And the next day, I think it was the next day, bunch of stuff's happening. And she's the clinical supervisor is the one that I felt like that, right? We just randomly happened to be in a hall together. So I have OCD, right? Like real deal, like not just count. I do, one of my things is having to say I'm sorry to deactivate the thought as part of my rituals. So one of the other things that she had taught me along the way as well, when I apologized to some people, was never apologize for clinical assumptions, right?
Okay.
And at some point previous to this whole thing, I had made a clinical assumption about her.
Yeah.
So part of I was not going to apologize for my clinical assumption of the situation. So when we got into that hallway, we talked about some things. And for somebody like me, one of the hardest things to say is that somebody intimidates me. And I looked this woman in her eyes and I said, out of anybody, you intimidate me. And I don't remember if I used that exact word, but she was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And I said, that's my own stuff, right? And we had this conversation all the way out the door, right? And to her office. Now let's get to today, right? So we were talking about all the things that have happened in the week, right? This is my week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is just this week, okay?
Wow.
And so I get a call today. Somebody had said something. I had to, big long story. I had to follow protocol on some things, and this person who's not an employee came and apologized and whatever. So I get a call and the clinical supervisor doesn't know that this conversation already happened. I'm getting my hair cut at 5 o'clock, and my phone rings, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, yes, ma'am. She says, after what happened yesterday, this person held themselves accountable and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, yeah, we already had a conversation about all that and this and that. And she was obviously on her personal time. Her child was in the car. And we get to talking about Christmas lights. And don't ever let a 2-year-old see Christmas lights, because every time you get in the car, you're going to have to go back and see them Christmas lights.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, true.
And then she's like, I'm going to send you some pictures. And she sent me these pictures of these Christmas lights and this and that and other thing. Now, my work, right, was getting to this feeling of equality, right? Because I don't have a master's degree or even a bachelor's, right? I have a specific skill set that allows me to do what I do, though, right? And what the director had said was that meeting is a multi-discipline meeting, right? Meaning that all disciplines come together to make the decision, right? The clinical team obviously has clinical stuff that they have to make a decision on, but we're all in that room as equals, right? Now all of a sudden I feel that way, okay? And then I think maybe what she might have learned by me telling her what I told her was that, and we talked about this too, is part of the thing about the directors is I have a different relationship with her, right? A relationship as in we've spent a lot of time like getting to know each other
Yep.
on this professional level, and that necessarily hasn't been the case with the other lady. And I think that might, and we talked about that a little bit, And I think that I planned on leaving early, and all of a sudden we got this. I'm tired, or I was. I'm all geeked up now.
There's coffee if you want coffee.
I said I'm all geeked up now.
I
No
know.
more coffee.
I don't.
No more.
I'm just messing with you.
I drink a little bit of cold press in the morning. That's about it. I think maybe she learned something from that conversation too, which was this reciprocal relationship thing to be able to get to know each other better. Right? And she took that initiative in our text messages to give me something, although it was very small, out of her personal life.
To try and
Right.
connect with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So what that did was it broke down the wall.
Yeah, right. And I felt extremely heard and understood. I asked Tad. I said,
Which brings you back up
"Yeah."
to
I asked Tad. I said, "Tad, do you know what one of the biggest fears in the world is?" He said, "What?" I said, "That we won't be heard or understood."
100%. That's everyone's biggest fear. I don't care
Biggest
what
fear is
people
not being
say.
validated for anything you're saying. Now you feel validated.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it validation. Like, I would call it being heard, because, like, what's more terrifying than trying to scream for help but not having a voice?
And validation, I don't necessarily. I guess in a certain realm,
Yeah.
it could be that,
Yeah.
you know, but the heard and the understood automatically makes me valid.
It makes you equal. It brings you to the table.
Well, but the thing was I was equal the whole time.
Well, of course, it was just your perception. Your
Yeah,
perception
it
was
was my
fucked
feeling.
from the beginning. You were
Exactly.
projecting your feelings of inadequacy onto her,
100%.
and that was, and she was like, "That's not what it was." And but you were able to overcome that barrier
Well,
through
she
having the
actually
communication.
Never did say that's what it was.
Oh.
I said that's what it was.
Yeah.
I told her that because I've done enough work to
You
understand.
knew
that.
that's what it was,
Yeah.
even though
Right.
your feelings hadn't quite caught up with what you knew, which they don't always do that, unfortunately.
Right. And the reason why I'm sharing all of this specifically is I'm sharing this for the listeners too.
Yeah.
But really, in all actuality, it's for you gentlemen. Right? Because I know that I'm somebody that Tad respects, right? I
Yeah.
know that I'm somebody that you respect, right?
Definitely.
I wanted to give you what my week looked like, transforming or evolving, right,
Yeah.
into my power
Okay.
again, re-evolving, continuing to evolve, right? Because I think it's just it's extremely important to really recognize in this program and in this life, there's no big I's and little U's.
Definitely not, because we're always evolving in recovery. We're always evolving. Every day we evolve a little bit more.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, whether we recognize it or not.
Yeah.
And, it depends on
like-
how much work you want to put into it, too, because
Definitely. It's like with
But-
your week, you were able to do a processing scenario too.
Right. Right. So sometimes it isn't even how much work you want to come in, right? Because we can do a lot of work and not get anywhere, right?
And do very
it's
little.
almost like you have to be awake. And until I'm awake, I'm
Well,
asleep.
actually, you said something that I really liked before this conversation. It was about something about the way you said something about spirituality, because we're talking about like getting it or whatever. And actually, I was at a convention a couple of months ago, and the way this woman described the spiritual principles and spirituality, like, I had never heard it that way before, but it hit me like really hard. And she used the words like awakening. It's not like we have to learn how to be honest, learn how to be willing. Like, you already are honest and willing. To take a child, and they are brutally honest. They're rude. They're borderline rude, and willing, and you already are all of these things. But see, the thing is somewhere along the line we decided not to. We decided not to be honest because we were trying to protect ourselves in this disease in the world and in the addiction. Just whatever happened, we decided it would be better if I wasn't willing. It would be better if I wasn't honest. I'm going to use this to somehow preserve me so that I don't get hurt, essentially. And so we started acting out on our defects. We grew, they were always an option. But so our spiritual principles, they never went anywhere. They're just asleep. You just have to wake them up. And we're just not used to using them because they've been asleep for so long, because we've been acting on defects for our whole lives. This started in like elementary school. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the whole I'm stealing Legos and eating glue.
well, 100%. This kid picked on me in school, so I'm gonna pick on that
Well,
kid.
yeah, you heard
or
the whole baby thing, right?
oh, no, I wasn't here for that.
Oh, that was the prerequisite was, I don't believe in original sin, right? Like I believe that when we're born, we're perfect.
Okay.
So I'm perfect, right? And as I begin to crawl and as I begin to walk, the world starts doing things.
100%. I believe
So I
that.
start strapping on armor.
Exactly,
right?
but we're grabbing the wrong armor.
Well,
Well, you
right.
already had the correct armor in the first place. You just didn't. You just picked up crap you didn't need to
wouldn't
pick
say
up.
grabbing the wrong armor. I'd say our armor's evolving. It would be.
I would say it's wrong though, because it's the armor that I use personally, my defects that I put on to keep me safe through my addiction or whatever, ultimately got me to this chair and
Well,
don't
what
work
about-
for me
well,
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but your armor didn't
But they
evolve.
did work for me.
And I can hear your point there, right?
Okay.
But what about like being a survivor of sexual trauma?
No, and that's what I'm saying
like-
is that they did work for me.
Right.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, just like this light and this dark bullshit.
Yep.
You know,
Sometimes
Bullshit. She said bullshit.
because you know
Sometimes
what?
your
Sometimes
trauma-
it's some bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
and survival skills that keep you alive start killing you, just like
Yeah.
That was
drugs
what I
and
was
alcohol
trying
used
to
do.
make a point is that
that's-
like
that's
we
why I said
picked
our-
up these skills to protect ourselves and they did in that moment, but they were no longer necessary, but I refused to let go of them.
And that's why I
And they
said
were
that armor
keeping me
evolves
from
with
growing
us.
into my spirituality and awakening because I don't need to get anything
that's
from
why I s-
anywhere.
You
It's
already
already
are it.
here.
Yeah.
I just have to like continue practicing it to open it.
Yep.
It's like opening a box. Like the box was here the whole freaking time. And the way I don't know, I remember exactly the words she used, but it was like, man, I was like, holy shit.
Well, that's one of the things that I say all the time is like I don't consider alcohol and dope bad. Like,
I don't
they
either.
saved my life, right?
Yeah.
But then they used to do things for me, but at some point they started doing things to me.
100%.
And that's the same thing with those. My defects of character aren't defects of character to me. They're survival tools, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Until I spit one of them out on you and I suffer a consequence.
And then it becomes
that's
a problem.
That's when it becomes
Now
a
it's a
defect,
problem.
right?
Yep.
Because for me,
But before it was
Right.
a skill set.
That's how we survived in our.
Well,
on the
because
street.
on the
That's how we survived in the
streets,
streets.
on the
That's how we
streets, it's
survived.
a eat or be freaking eaten. You know what I mean? So you need to have you need to be dishonest because if I told people how much drugs I had on me, I'd get shot.
Or
you know what
robbed.
or robbed or raped or all of the above or go to prison.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you can't be honest in those. So yes, they were a skill set, but I was in the wrong environment for me to actually grow to be who I'm supposed to be. I'm not able to be who I was put on this earth to be in the streets.
but check it out. Without all of those things,
I wouldn't have gained all my
you wouldn't
experiences.
be who you
You
are
are
right
now.
now.
I know.
So really, in all essence,
It all
for
worked
me,
out exactly how it was supposed
Those
to.
things were 100% because let's jump back to this job situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a degree, right? But I will tell you that I have every single thing that I have something. I don't believe so. I don't believe that people that aren't drug addicts and alcoholics can't help drug addicts and alcoholics because good information is good information.
100%.
Right? But if you don't know what it's like to trade in every single thing in your life, because I don't believe I lost anything. I believe I traded everything in to continue to get high.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't understand that, right?
Yeah.
But good information is good information. I have this, and
Well, it's just empathy. If somebody
Right.
could understand to put myself like, hey, what would it feel like to give everything up for one more? They'd be like, wow, that would be, you know what I mean? Like if you could put yourself in that person's shoes, then you could help
So
them
let's
too.
talk about evolution again, right? So this evolving that I've had to do, right? Which is I'm not sure what you got your master's degree in, but I'm pretty sure it's psychology, right? Yep. So this is something that you're definitely either are practicing, will practice, and continue to practice in your whole life in your practice, right? Which is this this thing, which is at some point, right? I had to put aside, right, my personal empathy and understanding and realize I have to make decisions for somebody to get better based on what clinically is best.
And so I'm actually going to grad school for neuropsychology, and that was the deciding factor for me not to practice with people because I get so attached to people and their situation. Like I go to meetings, I have sponsees, and I get so attached that there's this thing called burnout. right?
Yep.
And it happens very, very fast with
Oh, yeah.
clinical psychologists. And I just know me, that I would be burnt out within a year or two of
Compassion
practicing
fatigue.
because I would become so involved in things that I can't control. And so for me, I decided to go more of the research field of psychology because everybody goes into clinicals. Not enough people go into the research side. Nobody wants to do that. And I'm good with numbers. And I want to help people, but I want to do it in a way where it doesn't
Kill you.
mess me up, because honestly it'll mess me up because I want to help like little girls and kids just like me, you know what I mean? And then to not be able to do things or help them or like put restrictions on, it would drive me absolutely up the wall. So I decided to follow more of the research side of that for that specific reason, because I want to help people, but I just know that like this would be a better avenue for me to help people long term versus me just helping people short term and then ruining my own.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that I try to impart to people in recovery, right? Is you have to find what works for you in your framework, right? How it is that you process information, how it is that you feel about the world, how it is that you see the world. Like the information is the information. The words will never change on the wall.
Never.
Right? The process.
No, but the meaning changes.
What's that?
I said the meaning
Right,
changes
but the-
over
but
time.
the
Yeah, as we
words-
evolve.
The
Yes.
words will never change on the wall.
Yep.
Right? And how you see those words and how I see those words are two
completely
different
different
things.
Mm-hmm.
There's what you see, what I see, and what really happened.
Yep.
Right? So the words on the wall are the words on the wall, and there'll always be the words on the wall. But how do I have an experience that allows me to work within my own framework to continue to have an experience with what those words say,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a perfect example with you in your career,
Yep.
right? Being able to find what it is that you want to do in the field that you want to do, but figure out how to make it do what it do for you.
Yes,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. This turned into a really interesting conversation. Hey, Tim, I'd like it noted. I'm glad you ain't here.
Sorry, Tim.
Oh man!
That's
Oh my
funny.
gosh!
That
It's-
was
You
funny.
take more breaks too.
So, let's, like, I really appreciate you and you guys. And without you, this don't happen either. You know why? Because your spirit in the room and nodding your head and all that, like, that brings the spirit of who you are into this conversation, even though you ain't speaking.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Hey, all right. That's what we like to hear.
I-
I like it. All right, so I
that
do
sped by.
want to get to questions.
We had one.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
You have this big-
I have 100
I said
questions.
the one on the
I've
computer.
lost. We
I'm
have
sure
we
Tad
have
has
one from a
thousands of
listener.
questions.
Yeah. He was
What was the question from the listener?
Yeah.
Ken, what's the hardest thing about sponsoring men?
So it's the same thing as my job. Watching people give up on themselves before they ever give themselves a chance.
This is why I couldn't be a therapist, man. Like, that shit would kill me.
Yeah.
It would kill me day in and day
You-
out, and then not knowing.
Right.
When they,
Yeah.
especially because we do that. We see that with addicts all the time. They come
Yep.
in, they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna be here," and then they disappear. Right? Never
You
see them
never
again.
know
Did
what
they?
happens.
Did they stay clean? Did they not stay clean?
Right.
Like,
And
I'm,
then you hear through the news that something happened. And you're like,
and
oh,
I'm like,
crap.
was it them? You know what I mean? Like, I'm so emotional.
And I mean, so you were talking about the darkness. Living.
Tad, why do you always want to go back to the dark?
Because he's on the dark side, bro.
No.
He used to leave me these memes on my MySpace where it was like
On your
the cookie
MySpace?
on
Yeah.
MySpace. Let's bring it back.
What is this,
And
the
the Cookie
90s?
Monster and the
Well,
cookies.
we've been-
and he'd be
we've
like,
been
I'll give you-
around a long
there's
time
cookies on the
together.
dark side. He'd be like, come to the dark side.
Come to
Tara.
the dark side.
We have
so you
cookies.
talk
Yes,
about
that's the
accepting
meme.
your darkness.
That's the meme.
Now, do you believe just as we have to accept our darkness that some people can't accept their lightness? Do you think?
That goes right back to that whole like happiness thing.
Yeah.
Of
like,
course.
Not being able to believe that I deserve to be happy.
100%.
And so therefore I will push that darkness out, or that light out. Or the
Yeah.
same thing goes with
it goes
with that
both
particular
ways.
Thing. It's
I figured as
they're
much. It was one of the-
synonymous, right.
Yes.
It's either you want to glow or you want to sulk. It's the personal choice.
I don't know about that either.
I think it's
Sometimes
directly
we're asleep.
related to the belief construct that you are telling yourself every day, like you were saying. Like
Yeah.
if you wake up every day and you're like, oh well, I'm not a good person, I'm less than blah blah blah. I
Yeah.
might as well just an active addiction. I told myself that every day. I'm worthless. I deserve to be an addict. I'm gonna die an addict, and that was what I believed, and that's how I lived.
Yep. Same here. Like, I
Until
just
one
go
day
in and
I
say, I'm just
decided,
like
you know
my
what,
dad. I'm gonna use the
fuck
rest
this
of my life.
construct. I want a new
Yeah.
construct.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
And so but I also believe that, like, for me in life with spirituality is awareness. Awareness is key. Like, I'm not consciously maybe sulking in my misery and deciding I don't want to be happy. Maybe it's that I don't even know that I'm sulking in my misery, because usually what I find in those types of people is everyone else is the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone else is the problem.
And that's where the process
When
comes in.
that's
You
where I feel
process
like
it through your
that's what
head.
been the biggest process for me through the step work is bringing that awareness to myself
Would-
and to keep not necessarily like to myself and to other people to help me be conscious of my thoughts and my decisions so that I'm not sitting there, unconsciously running around causing mayhem, as I was before.
Would you be opposed to reading that again? What you read
the
at the
first
beginning?
one?
Yeah. If you want to read another one, that's
Yeah, I'll read the first one, but then it actually goes with. So this was written 20 years ago.
Okay.
it jumped
And
off
I'm
our
more so reading
conversation.
this for your.
I know,
whatever,
'cause I wasn't
it's
here.
sad 'cause she wasn't here.
It kind of
Sorry.
wraps
This
it all
is what
together.
this is what kicked off the whole conversation, right?
Okay.
So this was written on June 16th of 2002 while I was in prison.
You wrote it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called The Wild Man. Headlong upon a somber night does the wild man roam. He travels upon a whispering breeze, destination unknown. A rambler of sorts, and wrapped within himself a wild wind blows. His steps are light, yet his heart is divided and made heavy by the darkness within the night. His trials are long and his tribulations are great, the tests of time consumed by fate. A learned man of desolate ways, his spirit bound by the iniquities of darkened days. With a forgotten glee, a troubled man attempts to put his crazed mind at ease. He is a man of forgotten birth, twisted around by the dissension between heaven and earth. Long and winded his desolate heart grows, where his feet rest upon the trail so lone and dusty only the keeper of other worlds could know. He is wrapped and blanketed by pain, yet with twists of fate his hope still never fades away. He sleeps upon the clouds, his only place of rest, where the days of travel yet still hang heavy upon his chest. And there he bared the marks of a tattered existence which he could not outrun. Yet again, now it would seem his revelation has turned upon the pages of the greatest of stories of himself to be foreseen. Because out of the darkness came a light which the greatest of mortal men could never hold. It shines down so bright from heaven above as once again his mind, body, and spirit come together as one. And as time passes, so it shall be. I can only pray that dark and desolate man never again comes to be me. So that was like the intro
Okay.
to where we went with all the conversations, because we were talking about the meeting and being called a hero and people getting tattoos on their neck, right? Like, that's the light that we have this opportunity to hold.
Well, the power that we all carry.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to read this because it was really pointed towards the conversation that we are having. It's called A Tale of You. It says, the struggle from within, again and again, until the very skin of myself is to be worn, tired, and greatly thin. I battle on for endless parts of nights and days. The memories held steadfast, growing to remarkable points from an on high place. Have you ever opened up and looked at the world held within? Of course. But have you ever let it from upon the threshold of your inner door? This is a question, simple and true, yet many of us point the finger outward upon you and you. Imaginary comforts made to enwrap oneself, fully made of our own design to place some form of protected comfort upon our mental shelf. I say these things not out of spite of thee, for these things are not of you. On the contrary, they are of me. I tell you this, I say it true. You are the only one that must day in and day out live within the likes of you. I can't remember a time or even a place where the world of self-delusion or the troubles from it were not held upon my own disgruntled face. The places seem to always change. The people come and they seem to fade away. Yet never still do the powers of self-doubt and inner conflict seem to diminish or to fly away. I've used so many things trying to heal the pain, yet it still haunts me every step of every day. First I have it in this, and then I have it in that. Yet once again I warily come crawling back. Do you ever feel the same things that I do? Of course, the struggle is evident within the likes of I and you. So then the question I must ask myself, as well as to the likes of any of you, whatever are then we to do? It could be well in verse. It could be complicated. It could, I guess, even to certain degrees, be negotiated. But the simplest thing I can say to you and to me is that the answer is not held by the brain within, nor is it held by the outer appearance or the color of our skin, shown to the world to be the constant color of ignorance and ever so thin. I believe it is simple to do. It is to do what one can hold, to hold themselves to an inner balance of simplicity from the brain to the mouth to the skin. It's not hard, I know it's true. Just look how easily at first you thought this tale I was writing was going to be all about you.
I like that a lot. It reminds me of my treatment counselor when I was a teenager. I did a lot of, I was inpatient for a really long time. My treatment counselor, he was awesome. I loved him, but he always used to tell me the common denominator in all of your problems is you. And I'd be like, fuck you. No, it's not. It's my mom. It's my PO. It's this. It's that. I'm not, I was 15 when I went to treatment. So I was like, I'm not an addict. You can't tell me it's the situation, it's the cops, it's this, and when
I just like to be high.
exactly, I could stop anytime I want. I just started. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh my
Like
gosh.
let's give it a couple years and see what
Right.
happens.
Right.
And when I came back into recovery, man, I just remember sitting here like, God damn it, he was right this whole motherfucking time. Like I really was the problem.
Yeah. So you don't know this, but you know how I open up when I share.
No, I don't.
I'm a drug addict, and my problem is Ken.
Oh, Tad used to say that all the time back
But
in
where do you think you got it from?
Fergus
No,
Falls.
before I ever
no,
met you.
before.
Before
But
I
10
met you.
when I was in recovery 10 years ago,
Time
when
I
I
was
was 15,
18,
16,
that
I
used to
lived
be
with
how I
him.
introduced
And
myself.
we were in the recovery community up in Fergus, and Tad always used to say that because this sponsor, what did he say?
My very
Your
first
very first
sponsor.
sponsor.
name?
I think his name was Ken.
His name was Ken, and he was
frickin' name was
African American
Ken.
and a
He
rapper.
used to go to
Anoka.
Huh?
Anoka is where I met him.
No. The guy that I learned it from was, I swear to God, his name was Ken, and he would go to meetings in Superior.
Watch this should be
Ah,
the same
maybe.
guy.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. But yeah, I
Yeah.
remember because he made Tad
He had
say
a
that because
Cadillac.
Tad always thought he had a big
That's
attitude
cool.
problem.
Yeah,
And look at how my ego started. Who did you learn that from?
a different Ken.
Yeah.
Same name.
Like,
Hey, well, you know what Ken means in Celtic?
no, I don't.
Handsome leader. Like my parents.
You know what Tara means in Irish?
What?
Means fucking queen, bitches.
Yeah. Mine means handsome leader. Parents,
Tad means
my
light of
parents knew
God.
a legend was going to be born.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and here comes the ego.
Yeah.
We all knew it too, Ken.
Yes.
Oh, I had so many questions and they're all gone. Right now, the only thing I can
you,
wonder. Do you still write?
charmed him
Do I
with
still
your
write? Nope.
charisma.
I haven't.
I
haven't
actually,
written in a long
I
time.
just started writing again this year. I used to write all the time.
So even 20 years ago, you were still good with words.
Yeah, I told you I was
Well,
blessed
no-
with the gift of bullshit.
What? It just yeah, you basically covered that. It just seems that you're very well spoken, no matter what situation you're in, and that's my experience. And you know how to talk to people. Like
Because I have an empathetic nature.
so. Can we get into this a little bit? Like you and I, we weren't beefy.
We burnt this up the last show when you weren't here about you.
Yeah.
But so even during,
Really bad.
I don't know if you even realize that even during that you counseled me several times.
In the podcast?
No. During the last 3 years, before the amends was made,
When my ego was there and I wouldn't.
you
talk
still
to you.
you still would talk to me. You'd give me your I'd say hi. You'd
Oh,
give me
yeah.
your attention. I'd ask
Because
you
I'm not a
a
complete cocksucker.
I'd ask you questions about managing a sober house or certain things, and you'd still give me your opinion. You'd be like, dude, I think you're fucking with your own mental health. You'd still do, and then you'd go back to ignoring me. So even during that, so you still know how to talk to people, which a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So is that a skill that you learned, or
I think I try not to get into all or nothing as far as that. I think that it's partly nature and partly nurture. You know.
I think certain people are born with like maybe like higher stats, and so like, but through life experiences, you know,
They refine those
especially
skills.
speaking, that's a thing we use all the time. So if you already started maybe a little bit ahead of everyone else, you're going to be really good at it, especially as an addict by the time you get here.
Yeah.
Because like bullshitting the cop, like all,
But
you know
the-
what I
That's how we
mean?
refine our skills.
But there's one thing from the guy who's grabbing the attention and he's doing it for attention, and someone who's speaking through his heart, and you can generally feel
Well,
that.
but let's be real, because to be in all honesty, like most people that are speaking, I don't care what they're speaking for, are doing it to be for attention.
At some level,
I mean,
yeah.
that's everything in life, right? Because again, like we get into these stories we tell ourselves,
Yep.
right? Like if you think for one moment, now I will say my motivation for speaking is different. So when I was sober before, I would seek out places to speak, right? And when I got sober this time, I was very cognizant of the fact that 99% of the time you have to ask me to speak somewhere. I won't speak at a meeting, or I mean, I'll speak in a meeting, but I mean, if you ask me to share my story, I pretty much don't, not unless you ask, right? Because my ego can get wrapped up in it really fast. Because I know,
fast.
yeah, because I know. I mean,
You have to speak too many
speaking of
times
which,
in a
I've
row,
had-
and you're like, oh, I'm the fucking shit. Look at my story saving lives.
I've had people ask me if you can speak again in 6 months. Tell your story at our meeting again in 6 months already.
CMA.
Yep.
I was there for that one.
I do look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I always speak.
Well, you founded that meeting. And
No, I didn't find it.
you co-founded.
We found it.
Yeah, I don't even like that terminology.
But you know that, and so I don't know. People just love to hear you talk.
Yeah, including myself.
So it's almost that time, huh?
Yeah, so
You get
I'd like to close this out with one last thing because I think it fits. It's a good thing to end on. It's called the fire of greatness. I see that heavy are the laden shoes of the feet of the one that wears the weight of that which walks in the fire of the forsaken. But never shall thee be blind, for I of long loyalty stand with third eyes of vision of being alongside one of the few who I call my friend. The day of disbelief to the unrighteous shall fall upon the head of their deceitful ways. For in the guard of endeavors we walk with the strength of 1,000 soldiers, and yet still we speak with the tongue of 1,000,000 wise and honorable souls. When the fires of the world burn with vengeance, so shall our lives burn with the same eternal desire to be one day standing on the sure foot of the path of great things, and unforgotten men of this world in the next. I see the sun rise on the head of so many horizons, the pictures of night to be drawn in and swallowed by the everlasting glow of the greatness together we hold within.
I like that one.
That's beautiful.
Maybe I should write it.
You
I
should.
think you should.
I have. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've written. This was.
I'm actually surprised you never thought of writing a book.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
let's
lot
not
of
get
work,
my mom
though.
Started on that.
Okay. our mom wants to write a book. Remember?
Oh, she's been talking about that for 30 years.
Yeah.
See, I'm so smart. I try to drink water with the cap on.
Well, you know.
It happens.
It
for most
happens.
of us.
So, Matt, what are you grateful for today?
Today, I guess for the week, like just like my family, like especially my NA family. Like like I hadn't argued with my mother. I'm so grateful for my mom because she's still supportive of my recovery. My girlfriend, my outpatient program, and just like where I'm at in my recovery, like how far I've like grown in my recovery.
You got a quote for us today?
Yeah, so like I'm gonna kind of goes back to like, the darkness part, but just listen to what it is. So here it is. Everyone is a moon and has a dark side which he never shows to anyone. And that, I say that because like for addicts, we don't want people to really know our dark, deep past. That's why it's like our dark side of our moon is our past that we're ashamed of or don't want people to know about until we feel comfortable telling them.
There we go. Ken, what are you grateful for today?
I'm really grateful for this conversation that we got to have.
This is pretty cool.
And can I give a quote?
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's actually the quote that's in the front of the book. It's La spine della rosa sono nascosti del fiore. You know what it means?
Nope.
Nope.
The thorns of the rose are hidden by the bloom.
Oh. Nice.
What are you grateful for, Tad?
You know what? I'm great.
Grateful for me.
I was actually going to say that, but in a different way.
Don't feed his ego.
No, I'm going to feed Ken's ego a little bit.
Aw, that's
So,
sweet.
I'm grateful that life has unfolded the way it is because I get to now. I have Ken in my life, and Ken's a predecessor in the fact that he's done the things I'm starting to do. So I have someone I can call, and he can be honest and give me advice based on his mistakes and what he's learned, which is something I didn't have. And it's a lot better than me thinking I know everything because I don't know everything. I'm encountering new things every day. So
It's evolution.
Well, which brings me to one of my other favorite quotes. It says, a dumbass learns by their own mistakes. A wise man learns by the mistakes of others.
right,
I've never been that wise.
No, I'm
me
usually the
neither.
dumbass.
Me too.
I was just
I've
gonna
been
say.
trying to
Speaking
teach
of
my
them,
kid. I've been trying to teach her. I'm like, don't be the dumbass, be the wise man, please.
What
sister
are
of
you
mine.
grateful for?
I'm grateful for. I said higher power last week.
Yep.
I'm grateful for my higher power's plan for me because that shit is beautiful. Like, I'm so grateful for, there's a lot of big things happening in my life right now and I'm just dumbfounded.
You're doing it.
I know. I don't even know what I'm doing, but it's beautiful, so.
Jerome, what do you grateful
Jerome.
Jerome!
Oh, look, she had to
Best
come over here
friend.
and then she hogged the microphone the whole time. And look, she's like sitting over here and she's like,
I'm gonna act just like her.
her new nickname, Rubberneck. Rubberneck the hell out of that microphone.
I'm sorry.
You know, I
Get
am.
over here, Mandy. Bring your ass
I'm-
in the chair.
You know, I'm. It's a funny thing to ask me what I'm grateful for today. No, I mean, no, it's beautiful. I mean, I'm really glad to listen to you guys. You said a lot of stuff I really needed to hear today. So I appreciate you guys. This is a great conversation. I think I'm grateful for the potential of finding my power. I am.
Which is already there.
Which
Yeah,
is
there's
already
no
there, and that's
potential,
and
it's
that's the
just
thing,
unlocking it.
that's something that always escapes me. Is that I didn't think it existed, that I had to find it somewhere, but it's always in. Just kind of this conversation kind of made me realize it's always been in me. I just have to figure out where I want to lead with that,
Yep.
So I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for new beginnings. That's all I am. That's all I got. That's all I got.
All right.
Mandy.
Mandy, what are you grateful for?
Hi guys.
I own that sweatshirt.
Don't say Tad.
Okay. Well, you heard him. I'm not allowed to say you. So.
Word.
Oh, damn. Hey, that's
Not
it.
I can.
Look at how sweet that was. She was going to say, or might have said.
She wasn't going to say it.
The world will never know.
wasn't.
The world won't
Um,
know. We'll never know.
They got
She was gonna say my attitude.
So anyway, I am grateful for my sponsors. Both of them have provided so much guidance to me, and I've had a lot of changes that have happened recently. And as I've been growing and doing the next right thing, I have had new opportunities to face new challenges. Every time I level up, the challenges seem to level up with me too, and I have to deal with new circumstances. So I got to spend some time with Miss Gracie tonight. Shout out to her. I know.
We love you, Miss Gracie.
And I got to have my Gracie time, and normally she was my hot date every Thursday, but she's been working like nobody's business, and I've been busy with my stuff too, so it was nice to get to connect with her again. It makes me realize how much I really miss her.
Yeah. She's awesome.
I love Miss Gracie.
It's been fun to watch her grow.
Do we want to do a buzzer beater?
What's that? I forgot.
A buzzer beater is a quick question, and that I come up with off the top of my head. And today I'm feeling extra.
Spicy.
No, I was just gonna say, spicy. I was gonna say lazy, but spicy
feel like
works.
that was
Jerome, why would you say spicy to another?
I don't even want to
That's
think
why
of
I said it.
myself in the context of spicy.
Caliente.
So,
More like
Caliente
bland.
del culo.
what's one word? Oh my gosh. What's one word that would describe how you're feeling now after this show, given the context and that, and I'll go with I'll go first, and I'm gonna say contemplative.
Contemplative,
Yep.
in a state of contemplation.
I'm just thinking about stuff. Yeah.
Your fucking face.
Yeah. I'm.
Your face.
I'm just. I got a lot of stuff to chew on, to think on tonight, and unpack after. I don't know.
Well, you better rewind this podcast.
Yeah, you better listen to this again. It was good.
It was good.
It's really good.
We'll go this way. Tara.
I feel elated.
Elated.
Yeah.
Jerome.
There's a word that I always think about in my years. It's called Mariki.
What does that mean?
Mariki is excuse me, I think it's French, but to do something with passion, or soul. So that's why I'm gonna step into
That's
that.
a beautiful word.
That's amazing. Matt.
I'm gonna get it tattooed on me now.
Mandy get to go first.
I'm
We're
gonna
going
get
in
it
a
tattooed
circle.
on my neck.
You're not a very good boyfriend.
It's been said.
Oh my God! Thanks, guys. I like how this turned into the Rip on Tantrum.
I can't not come here and like rag on you.
Right.
It's fantastic. I'm going to say humbled because it's nothing like listening to the podcast and hearing about the story about your boyfriend saying when your bedtime is. That's
Fucking sucks.
What girl doesn't love that?
Hey, but hold on. Were you here when were you at that meeting when I ended up having to make an amend to him and then brought it and talked to the whole podcast about it?
I didn't get to hear the podcast, but I
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
you
there
should
the day of
listen
the
to
event.
that.
You should listen to
Where I was
it.
complete, not today, the last one I did where I was complete
Oh,
jackass.
it's
and
Greek.
treated him
Isn't
like
that your
shit for, like,
name?
3 years after he asked me to sponsor
No,
him.
that's
Yeah.
not how even.
But that's your
I
name
was just showing
on
how wonderfully
Facebook. Oh,
spiritual I am.
I don't know. It's not that. Your birth certificate name.
Matt, what about you?
Matt, what about
Matt.
you?
No, I love
I'm gonna go with
that.
that ease because, like, as I said earlier, I had to
love
process
that.
a lot of things this week.
Dude, I thought that was
And like, even if this podcast helped me feel more at ease when I was just being able to express that in the podcast.
that's fucking
Nice.
funny.
How about you, Ken?
No, don't ever do it.
I feel connected,
Oh, sweet.
Fuck yeah.
heard, and understood.
Goddamn right.
He used 3 words.
Yeah. This is
Oh,
my
that's-
show.
I want to use more words.
Right.
This is
One
my
word
show.
to describe. Ken used 3 words. Ken gets 2.
Yep.
See, Ken. Do you not know who Ken is?
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
Us here
there's-
know
Who is
we-
Ken?
us
Who's
here we
Ken?
know-
Yeah,
we know
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, I used to think it went God and then me and then all you people.
See, I used to
You're a
think it went
doctor?
me and then God and then all you people.
Yeah, well, I wasn't that egotistical.
I was messed up in the head, dude. I was.
It happens.
It did happen.
Hey, man, I want to thank all of our guests, Ken especially, and I want to thank our prop-in guests, Jerome and Tara, and Mandy, who made a brief appearance, and Matt here. And we want to thank Elena, who was feeling a little under the weather. And
No, she was not.
oh, yeah, she was not sick. She told us she was not sick.
She was feeling dizzy.
Dizzy. So we want
Tad feels that way every day in life.
oh, yeah. Anyway, it's for being on
It's that
balance.
lack of balance.
I was trying to beat her to it. I said it at the same time.
Hey, you remember the flawless victory?
So I do that to her on a daily basis, and she likes to get me in places
Yeah,
here.
but you didn't do it on air.
I know, and I won't, and I don't, and I don't.
That flawless, was it?
Yeah.
But you know I won't do it on air, so this is like your safe space.
Since when?
I have a feeling Tara doesn't need any safe spaces, especially not ones provided by you.
We'll see. I mean, that's not how it's gone, majority.
Just take the O.
Yeah, just take the L,
I
bud.
mean, that's not how it's gone, but, you know, okay.
That's okay.
Write
we're
your own
evolving.
narrative.
Get with the program.
We're evolving.
Yes.
How, you know what? Why don't you go watch a Dallas Cowboys game? Anyways,
Oh, how about
Why don't
the
you go
Green
watch
Bay
a Vikings?
Packers, baby?
Why don't you go watch a Vikings game?
I
Chad?
will. I will.
You go watch them lose on Sunday.
You
My
know,
two
to
favorite-
Detroit.
Hey, hold on. You know my 2
They
favorite
might.
teams, right? You know my 2
Oh, yeah,
favorite
you're a
teams?
Oh my
Packers
God,
fan.
that's the worst
Hey, you know what
score.
my 2 favorite teams
The
are?
Packers and
What?
anyone who plays the Vikings.
That's right, baby.
Oh hey.
So you like the? So do you hate the Bears or the Vikings more?
Depends on the divisional, where the divisional stance is, but usually it's the Vikings.
Because the Bears and the Packers actually have a more storied rivalry. You know?
Yeah, I
But-
understand that.
okay.
But you know, you could be anything you wanted in my family, and they didn't even care you were a convicted felon. But if you were a Viking fan,
Ooh.
been a rap, son.
Oh man. So this has been a cool show. I want to thank everyone for listening. Next week we got Rick and Jesse from the 4-Step Workshop. They'll be finishing up the 7th step and going into the year. Yeah, Rick Bowman.
Jesse.
No, Jesse E. They do the 4-Step Workshop. They did the 6th step a couple months ago, and we had technical difficulties, so we're going to finish the 7th step. And then starting January, once a month, they will be on, Jesse and Rick, and we're going to start at step 1 and do one step each month. And so that's coming next year.
My next part of the series.
We haven't scheduled one. So whenever
Inform me after the
February?
that I would be
Doing a series.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim.
now turning
It's 5. Oh man, Matt.
From 3 to 5.
That's what Tim said.
I thought it was 4. See, no one know.
You guys don't communicate very well.
No, I don't think so. Somehow we
Just give me the day and I show up and talk shit.
I think it's however many you want to do, realistically.
At
But
this point, I think I'm going to take over the podcast and I'll.
I mean, I was thinking next time we all go on vacation, we'll just call you. You'll show up and you won't know and you'll figure it out. As long as Matt's here to set it up.
Yeah, I'll just show up to set up and just leave.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really got anything else. Other than, hey man, you are valued, you are loved. We appreciate you. If you or anyone you know is struggling, reach out. Our numbers are on here. There are lots of avenues. You're never alone. And if you or anyone else you know anything, or anyone that wants to be on the show, make sure you contact Elena or myself. And before we tune out, we're going to give Ken the last word.
Always remember, gratitude is an action and thankfulness is a state of mind.